Hello and welcome to a new episode of Concierge.js, in which we will be using Caddy in order to enable HTTPS for our frontend and backend services. That is not very complicated. What is complicated is how to distinguish between a frontend request and an API request, in the sense that we would like to achieve the fact that when we click on buttons in the front-end website, we are allowed to navigate, but if we paste the URL for an API endpoint, we will be blocked. This is not very straightforward because from Caddy's perspective, both of them are normal requests, both are coming from the browser, and the normal architecture for such a thing is to have some kind of permissions on the API level, which we do not have, and we do not plan to add a middleware for this. After a little bit of back and forward, here is the application working with the domain. Navigation is working also. So now everything goes from Docker through Caddy. Now, since Caddy is working in a bridge network, it also intercepts things that are being done by Visual Studio Code. This is why some of the domains that we see here in the Caddy debug have local IPs or strange domains, such as default xptas.com, which apparently it is from Visual Studio Code and it is used by plugins, but this is not a concern for us. We can also block them if we so desire, but for now it is okay. What we have managed to implement is a solution based on a header. Is this header here, which is supported by most recent browsers, which tries to dictate where request should be going and why. And with the help of this, in our little server.js file, we can decide if it was a normal navigation or an API request manually done in the browser. For example, if we are trying to access API reservations, we'll get a forbidden error, but if we navigate normally, everything works as expected. The problem with this approach is that it provides a fake sense of security. It works for most basic things, but as we can see here, during the tests, an LLM can figure out the workaround in seconds. The workaround is to append the same header that the browser appends, and then it is bypassed. So the solution that we should implement in the end is not only this one, but it is a mix of this one for basic things plus authentication. The authentication will be obtained with Keycloak, but for now we have working redirects with HTTPS. On the local machine, we cannot access the Docker server directly. We cannot access the backend server directly. It is not exposed. We cannot easily access in the browser API endpoints that are only on the server, and we can output from Caddy in the console the headers that are going back and forth. This will be important because in Keycloak we will use this functionality to decide if we allow a user to go forward or not. So this is for today's video. We have the first bit already working, and in the next episode we will be working on adding Keycloak on top of this to have authentication. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next episode.